So the last few weeks for fans of Marvel's Avengers has been pretty rough. The game launched in a pretty bad state. Everyone was looking forward to the big patch 1.3.0 that promised over 1,000 fixes, and it seemed like that patch perhaps brought in as many issues as it actually resolved, and some of them were really quite serious issues with some players looking like they were losing their progress. But we had a patch update today. It's 1.3.1, relatively small patch, but it actually fixes a lot of really big issues in the game. Now, I'm not going to pretend at all that the game still doesn't need work. There's so many areas that need improved, and I've actually got, it's a close to a 20-minute video that I've done today, and it's all editing at the moment that I'll look to release in the next few days. It talks about how I feel they can improve the game, but this is definitely a step in the right direction, and when they do make these steps, they do deserve to be actually given praise for it. Yes, there's a lot more steps they have to make in this direction, but it is at least a start. But let's jump in and let's check out the details of this patch. So we start off with what I feel was one of the biggest issues the game was having. It was the daily faction missions which weren't actually resetting. Now, I reckon because I started in early access on the 1st of September, it was round about the 3rd on actual launch day, or the 4th, which was launch day, that they stopped working for me. So they hadn't been working since launch, which was close to 3 weeks. Now this is your incentive to actually log into the game, and it wasn't working. So that wasn't good, and I was getting a bit annoyed about the fact it still wasn't working, and I was thinking if the next patch doesn't fix this, then I'm really worried. But thankfully they have fixed it, and they're looking to give some compensation as well, which is really nice. So just to read out the notes here. So patch 1.3.1 addresses a handful of large issues, including a fix for players being unable to accept faction missions in villain sectors. We recognise and apologise that this bug prevented players from being able to earn specific rare rewards, and as such are granting the following to all players. So it's 250 polychoron, if that's how I say it, and 500 euro, which is a decent amount of them as well. Now we are missing out on the faction XP, so it's a little bit disappointing to see we're not getting them, but I'm not going to complain too much about this. I have heard some people having trouble claiming it, because if you look at the next line it tells you we should be able to claim it as soon as the patch went live, but some people are still having trouble. But I've heard the way to resolve that is actually log into the game with one character, then switch character, change to another region, go into your challenge card, and then the rewards should pop from there. So if that does work, do let me know in the comments below. We've then got some fixes to campaign events. These are important because I've heard of a lot of people that were on the post campaign and missions weren't shown up, and you've got some of the best artifacts in the game are actually behind this. So the changes here, it states various reassemble campaign and Avengers initiative fixes. So that includes various crash and stability fixes, fixed a rare issue when selecting once an Avenger inadvertently sent the player to the wrong mission, and then fixed an issue keeping some mission chains from completing properly when all requirements are met. Example, the Reigning Supreme campaign. That's one I've actually seen a lot of people mention on Twitter, so it's good to see that that has now been fixed. We've then got quite a few combat changes here. I'll go through the highlights. So firstly, Captain America can now smash through doors, so hallelujah, something that people have been asking for so long, and he can now do that. We've then got, when we move on to tuning, we've got some improvements in regards to responsiveness for some skills for Iron Man and Thor. I have noticed they do struggle a little bit, being characters that can fly and run. Sometimes they don't feel too great to control. Improved reliability of Iron Man's thruster uppercut. Improved presentation of Captain America's sprint and block. So what that actually means is when you're sprinting and you're using the block button, he'll actually bash enemies out the way like he does in the CG trailer. So that's an awesome change. Cap done pretty well from this patch. Then it also mentioned tuned the Spin Keeper's standard attack, reduced the heroic drain, and added an off-screen attack indicator. Personally, I would like them to change this spin actual mechanic altogether. I'm not a fan of it. Make it a silence where it stops you from using one of your heroics for maybe 15 or 20 seconds. Don't have it reduce it. Just doesn't feel good at all. But other changes we've got here tuning wise, so these apply to the Adept Drone, the Synthoid and the Keeper. So they added new standard attack to Drone and Keeper. I wonder if that means maybe they were using their special attacks too frequently, and now they'll use the more standard ones. Adjusted homing attack to happen less frequently, so that's great to hear. Adjusted the homing projectile to be more balanced, that was definitely needed. Increased the global cooldown for all quantum homing projectile attacks. That's actually quite hard to say, and you probably noticed I struggled with that. And then finally adjusted quantum shard projectiles, so they are no longer unblockable. So it's nice to see those combat changes there. We then have some gear challenge and reward changes. So the first one here is in regards to refreshing your weekly missions. There was an issue with this. They've temporarily disabled being able to do that for certain missions, but they're looking to fix it in the next update. They mentioned the fact that we've already talked about addressing an issue where villain sectors would not properly refresh. So again, it's really good to see that. Really important they did get that fixed, because as mentioned, it's an incentive to get players to log in. You can't have your daily incentives not working, and it's poor they weren't working for as long as they are, but it's now fixed, so that's good. Now next up, it states that fixed additional issues that prevented daily requisitions from clearing as intended. That just ties in with the last one there. Grant players the iconic Iron Man outfit if they lost it due to a bug. You got a line here in regards to a legendary reward that was set to power level 1. I imagine most people have probably deleted that item by now, so it won't really apply to many. Then addressed issues with how the insurmountable perk was being applied to gear drops. I'm not quite sure what that perk does. If anyone knows, let me know in the comments below. And then we've got some information on your heroic hives and how you properly get gear when you actually finish them. Now the hives actually reset today. If you're in the UK, the reset is 6 PM, so all your weeklies are reset, your heroic hives, your mega hives, so get in and get running them, because you get some pretty nice gear and you've got the higher chance of getting your exotics as well. Mentions there is a problem with Kamala where she can lose a skill point. I'm actually missing a skill point on her myself. I didn't notice that until recently. They are still looking into that. And then they adjusted the loot tables in mega hives to increase the chances additional loot will be awarded, so that's good. We need some loot buffs, not any loot nerfs like we've had recently. A few PC and Xbox specific fixes here, although this issue I believe I've heard of people getting it on PlayStation as well. It says addresses a rare bug that results in a player hero's level being reset, usually following a multiplayer connection issue. If you've had it on PlayStation, let me know, because I'm sure I've seen people have that issue, but it's good they fixed it on these two platforms. We've then got a list of some upcoming changes here. So it states we're in the final stages of testing the following features and hope to have them rolled out in the near term patch. So subtitles size option, subtitles are tiny, they could do with being bigger. High contrast mode, war zone ping system, that will be important once they get the multiplayer working again, and I believe they actually have. I believe the matchmaking is actually working a lot better now, and that again, like the daily's not working, that is exceptionally important. It's a multiplayer game, you need to have matchmaking working as good as you can. And then finally a toggle option for hero icons to remain always visible, so that will be useful as well. Also mentions at the bottom there that some of the features and tuning were based on player feedback. That was the likes of the Captain America change where you can actually break down walls. So overall, definitely a good patch. It did come out of the blue, so it was nice to get it just before the weekend there, and it fixed a lot of really big issues. I won't pretend at all that they don't have a lot of work still to do, but as I mentioned earlier on, when they do make these positive steps, we need to actually give them some credit for it, and this has been a pretty good patch. Let me know what you think of it anyway in the comments below. I'll look to get the video talking about all the upcoming changes I would like to see out in the next few days as well. Hopefully that'll be an interesting one for you. But thanks for tuning in for this. Stay safe. I'll see you all again soon.